When it comes to your child's health,
You want care that's close, convenient,
and centered around the needs of your family.
At MMC Pediatrics, we're more than just doctors.
We're partners in your parenting journey.
here for every growth spurt,
for every boo-boo,
every fever, and every flu.
Our team approach means that your child always sees someone that knows them.
We are MMC Pediatrics.
We are right beside you.
Every step of the way.
We're the Good Neighbor Network, FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, audio and video streaming at wgnsradio.com. This is the Roundtable, Tennessee Association of Broadcasters Award winner for Best Local Talk Show. A look at the news, views, politics, sports, and people shaping Rutherford County. This is the Round.
Presented rather the Pat Summit Lifetime Achievement Award. It's pretty special because Pat was pretty close to Deb and myself, and when I say that, we kind of had a different relationship. Deb had her relationship with Pat, which was more of a mother to mother type situation instead of basketball, and then my relationship with Pat was more on X's and O's and players and what I thought about her teams and what she thought about my teams, and it was pretty special. Of course, you didn't know that then. Who knew when we first got together in the late '70s that Pat Summit was going to be Pat Summit? And
do this last.
You
ready?
All right, look at all what she's accomplished, an Olympian, and all the way through, and the success she's had. I think one of the most, if not, I think she's the best women's basketball coach ever. I know there'll be a lot of people that say, well, Gino, but, Pat's kind of set the table for all of us, to be honest with you.
Yep, exactly. And Deb, like Rick said, every successful coach I've ever known, they've been that way because they had a strong family behind them, whether it was a female coach with a husband backing them or yours and Rick's situation. And he's gone into a lot of Hall of Fames. But it seems like this award, because it has Pat's name on it, that's got a little extra something to it.
It certainly does, just because of our closeness, our friendship, and more like family ship that we shared that was away from basketball. She and I, it was just like we knew each other our entire life.
Yeah.
And we just melded together. And I think the impact that she's having now on the world after she's no longer here with Alzheimer's and the research going on in her name and the foundation is lasting forever.
Yeah. Well, let's turn the clock back a little bit. Did you have any idea what you were getting into when you started dating this guy?
No, none. I was just, he took me by storm. 10 days after I met him, he told me I was going to marry him. And for some reason, I said yes. And 3 months later, we did get married. And we've been married 51 years. Yes.
Wow.
My family had a hard time adjusting to that because I'd never really had a consistent boyfriend. I had a lot of boyfriends and a lot of friends, and they were stunned that all of a sudden Debbie was in love.
Yeah.
And he shortened my name to Deb.
Oh, okay. You were Debbie to everybody.
I was Debbie to everybody,
Yep.
Deborah by birth, Debbie
Yep.
to everybody, and he shortened me to Deb, and I've been that for 51 years.
It took a lot of, for her family to adjust to me because of the Wayne feed cap that I wore all the time. And then I rode horses just about every weekend, and I coon hunted just about every night. And then
He was my brother's junior pro coach. My brother was 8 years younger than me, so he was a 10-year-old that he had crying most of the time.
Wow.
So,
it was just
some things never change,
No.
right?
It was tough. It was tough for parents to see through, and then I had a great job. I mean, Deb and myself, I was working for Rudy Farms through that period of time, and we were making good money, and we felt like that we were.
So you were selling sausage.
I was making sausage. Making sausage.
Okay.
We killed 400 hogs a day.
Okay.
And
Were you
I-
working
at Rudy Farms.
the
down
one up by
Where Opryland is
by
now.
Opryland?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
They used to have the buffalo out there.
Yes.
And
That's
all that
where
stuff.
I worked
Yeah.
every morning. I'd get up at about 4:30, and I'd drive to Nashville, and then my brother Jackie Gunner and Bobby Vance, one of my close friends, we all went in and worked there, and it got to the point where Dan, and I hate to say this, it got to the point that I was doing pretty good. I was not a supervisor, but I knew how to do everything.
Well, you're still young.
I was, and they said, "Hey, we want to send you to our management school, Consolidated Foods and Incorporated." And I said, "Where's that at?" And they said, "Detroit." And so I had to make a decision, and I think this is one of the biggest decisions that I made without talking to Deb. I walked in one night after we're married and making pretty good money. She's working at a bank in Manchester, and I said, "Hey, I just turned in my 2 weeks notice." And she said, "What?" I said, "Yeah, I think I want to go back to school. I think I want to be a coach." And
Could I tell my part?
yeah.
He said, "I'm not happy. I want to coach. And I've got to go back to college to get certified to teach to do that." And he said, "I just need to know if you're with me or not." We've been married 3 months. And I said, "I didn't marry what you do. I married you. But I've seen your transcript. And if we starve to death for you to go back to college, you darn sure better study this time."
Well, when you
I made straight A's after I married
you
her and got back and got focused. And then,
you give Jimmy Earl a lot of credit. Was the want to be a coach part of your friendship with him that kind of helped you decide that, or was that already in there?
Jay Cole, which played here at Middle and played for Coach Earl.
His daughter Misty still around in town.
And then Coach Earl, you got to really understand. I'm coming in a little old country boy from Woodbury. I was not a player. I mean, I played everything, and I was a competitor. But Coach Earl and me kind of hit it off because I would stay afterwards and just ask him one question after another. I'd walk with him to his office. I'd come to the games and he'd see me. We were more acquaintances. We were not friends, but he knew who I was. And so then when I graduated, then at that point, there was a position open at Shelbyville. I applied there, did not get an interview, and they hired Jim Drew, which played point guard here at Middle. So my contacts Middle were just unlimited. And so I came to Coach Earl, and he walked me across campus to the old grill over there and introduced me to Jim Drew. And he said, well, what are you certified to teach? And I said, well, my minor is in social studies. He said, well, they're looking for an American history teacher. Said, I'll get you an interview set up and you can take it from there. Well, Jim Drew had me an interview set up with Mike Bone. And this was Mike Bone's first principal job at Shelbyville. And that school had just been built. There hadn't been any basketball or anything taking place. It was the first time that anybody would get to really do anything in it. And I was able to convince Mike Bone to hire me. And I went in as Jim Drew's assistant coach.
First year in that new building.
In first year,
Wow.
But they came back and before they hired me, they said, we got something we need to tell you. And I said, what's that? And they said, you'll have to coach the women's team also. Well, I didn't like women's sports, to be honest with you, because I came through at Woodbury where they had so much success, Robert A. and his girls, and they were given so much, and we were not. The boys' team was not. See, when Jay came in, that was his first year, and then I'm out there. So, but when you're broke, you're desperate. So I said, okay, it's not a big deal. I'll coach the girls.
So you're going to be Jim's assistant for the boys and head coach of the girls.
Right. And
already a school that had won two state championships.
Really
in
three if you
64
count
and 74. Okay.
Harris Middle.
Right.
Not Harris Middle, but Harris High.
Harris High.
And he did track and tennis too,
Yeah.
besides
Well, I
teaching
didn't-
5 classes.
I didn't know anything about track and tennis. That's a great story within itself. We didn't have a track team, nor our tennis team at Woodbury. All we had over there was basketball and football. That's it, period.
Yeah.
Really, it's about all anybody had through that period of time. And then after they hired me at Shelbyville, Mr. Bone called me one day. They didn't have anybody to do the tennis program. He called me. He said, what do you know? Called me to the office and said, what do you know about tennis? I said, I don't know anything about tennis. He said, well, here's a book. And there's a guy that will meet you this afternoon on the tennis court. All you got to do is drive the kids to the match. He's going to coach them, which is really illegal, but that's what he told me.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was illegal at that time. That guy was Bill Russell.
Judge
which
William
was
Russell.
Judge
Yep.
William Russell, which was on the Supreme Court, Tennessee State Supreme Court Justice. One of the most powerful guys in the state of Tennessee,
But
period.
he was willing to help out.
He was the coach.
Yeah.
And so that relationship I developed with him,
It's a lifetime relationship.
God, it just kept giving. It just kept giving. And there were several people like that that ended up being that way for me at Shelbyville.
It sounds like there was in that transition time when he had all that, there was a lot of keeping supper warm.
Oh, God. No, she had to raise the kids.
I also had a 5-month-old
Yeah.
when we moved to Shelbyville and moved away from family, knew no one, and I had a 5-month-old.
Yeah.
And had just gotten him out of Vanderbilt Hospital in intensive care. So I made friends very soon, friends that became like family that still are today through my working there at First National Bank. And it became home to us.
Yeah.
But it was difficult. We didn't see him very often
We
at all.
didn't.
What year was that? What year was the first year at Shelbyville?
77.
77.
Okay. And a little side story here before we take the first break.
And you came on board with us.
Well, the thing was, in probably 78 or 9, you brought your girls over for a play day
Right.
at Columbia Central, and somehow you
Billy
and I
Billy
connected
Lovell.
up, just talking and whatever, and so our relationship goes back to the late 70s, and so as a little full disclosure, 1983-84, I'd been doing the high school games in Columbia and was in school here, and I was driving a lot back and forth, and there was an opportunity that year to do the games. They needed somebody. Tom Crawford was the football coach, and Mike was the boys coach, and you were the girls coach, and
Mike Frost.
Mike Frost was the boys coach, and football had a good year. Boys basketball team struggled some, but your girls just kept getting better and better all year. I mean, I still remember that team: Patsy Smith, Jana Jennings, Susan Dial, Angela Moorhead, and Jill Mitchell. And
that was
that was the first great team you had.
That was the beginning of the dynasty, really.
Because it was the first team that got to the state finals.
Yeah.
Got beat by a little,
double
girl
overtime.
who was pretty good, double overtime to
Venus
Brainerd,
Lacey.
and Venus Lacey, who ended up being an All-American at Louisiana Tech, and an Olympian
in
as well.
1996.
And a pro.
From Brainerd High School. That was just kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, we need to take our first break here on the Roundtable. Rick and Deb Insell are with us and traveling down memory lane as Coach Insell has hung up the whistle and going into a different phase, and glad to be able to catch up here today. And of course, this weekend he'll be recognized with the Pat Summit Lifetime Achievement Award by the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame. More after this here on the Big Jeep, WGNS.
When it comes to your child's health,
You want care that's close, convenient.
and centered around the needs of your family.
At MMC Pediatrics, we're more than just doctors.
We're partners in your parenting journey.
Here for every growth spurt,
for every boo-boo,
every fever, and every flu.
Our team approach means that your child always sees someone that knows them.
We are MMC Pediatrics.
We are right beside you.
Every step of the way.
First Shot transforms Rutherford County youth. Coach Andy Herzer leads dynamic basketball camps and clinics, building skills and character since 2003. Kids dive into exciting STEM projects, sparking creativity through hands-on coding, art, and dance. They elevate their mind, spirit, and body in summer and winter programs. Visit FirstShotTN.org today to learn more. First Shot, where kids gain, elevate, and develop.
Murfreesboro City Friends, this is Jacob Morphus, and I am seeking your vote for City Council this election season. My career is in leadership for complex agencies that serve others, where results are crucial and every dollar and resource counts. This kind of servant leadership will be what our growing city needs to take on the challenges of our future.
All lovely things to wear as we're enjoying the summer go by. Come thrift with me at Steered Straight 2 Furniture and Thrift at 10
Offices of John Day.
This is a paid legal ad.
When a family member is lost as a result of someone else's negligence, the grief can be unbearable. It also leaves you with a lot of questions like, how did this happen? Who's responsible? And is my family going to be okay? That's a lot to go through, but with the law offices of John Day on your side, you don't have to go through any of it alone. We understand what you're going through, and we have the experience to get the answers, justice, and compensation your family deserves. Call the law offices of John Day.
Now, Good Neighbor Events. Here's Bart Walker.
Start in Murfreesboro. Maybe you have a new computer, or perhaps you've added a new program. Our local Rutherford County library system is offering free computer classes, and they're available at the Tech Center. That's right, the Technology Engagement Center. It's at 306 Minerva Drive here in Murfreesboro. Those are WGNS Good Neighbor Events.
Rutherford weather.
High of 89 today under mainly cloudy skies with a chance of thunderstorms. 70 tonight, chance for storms. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on News Radio WGNS. Right now, 76.
WGNS is powered by Middle Tennessee Electric. Thanks to Sharing Change, MTE members are making a difference just by rounding up their monthly bills to support local nonprofits. See how it works at sharingchange.org.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at wgnsradio.com.
And there would be 1,500 people in the gym watching them warm up. And then it became the thing to do in Shelbyville was to be there because it just happened. I mean, it just really happened. And then a good friend of mine, Travis Jones and Bill Bobo, were at Golden Corral one day, and we were eating lunch. I was, and they said, "Hey." We'd been to the state tournament a couple of times, you know, and said, if you ever win a state championship, we're going to build you a house. And I said, I'm going to hold you to that. And, you know, I was very cocky then, you know, I said, I'm going to hold you to that, so you better get your tools ready. Well, in '86, we won it. And they were at the game, and they came to me right after the game and said, hey, we're going to fulfill our obligation. Well, the city ended up giving Deb and me a lot wherever we wanted. They bought a lot, the city did, and gave us a lot in Shelbyville. And we used that as collateral with one of our closest friends, Bud McGrew. Right. He had just started First Community Bank, and we built our first home. They built our first home, $51,000 to
turnkey
to get in it. That's what they built it for at that point.
Yeah.
And the bank wanted to buy the house from us, but Deb and myself.
It was 2,200 square feet.
We had never owned anything, and we were raising our kids, and we just said, no, we got our house now. We're going to pay a mortgage on it. But that just showed you about that community.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, God, they were just, they were so, and that's how that all started. I mean, and from there it grew, you know, like you said, Moorhead and Mitchell, Jana Jennings, Susan Dial, Patsy Smith, and then you come on in there, that next group with Trish Henniger, which is Trish Lewis then, but Trish, she's my lawyer now, and Tracy Buckner, she's at one of the guidance counselors over at the high school at Shelbyville, and I could just go on and on with those kids, that all of them. I know Julie Boyd ended up being a manager through that period of time.
She's a heart surgeon.
She's a heart surgeon at Vanderbilt. So, you know, it was just there's
Tina Sudbury.
Tina Sudbury ended up helping develop the Scud missile they used in the wars over there in Saudi Arabia and all that down at Redstone Arsenal, and she ended up being in the number one class. She graduated Middle Tennessee State and went to Redstone Arsenal. Yeah. So there was a lot of stories that come out of that. Shelbyville was a special place.
Absolutely. But the thing that I seem to remember about that 80, that's been a long time. It's been 42 years from this past spring, is that, and every coach goes, they figure out their team and who they can coach hard, who they've got to pat on the back, who they've got to kick in the butt, that kind of thing. The thing that seemed to me about that team is no matter who you were mad at or who you needed something out of, you took it out on Susan Dial because she was tough enough to take it. And that everybody got the message, but you directed it at Susan because she was your point guard.
Susan came from a family that was very athletic.
Her brother was a great pitcher here.
And
hardworking.
She knew they were hardworking people. They ran a grocery store there in town, Dallas Grocery.
Yep.
And the mama didn't like it much, me getting on Susan, but Susan's daddy didn't have a problem, and I related to the daddies better than I did the mamas. But she was a leader.
Yeah.
She wanted to be the leader of that. She was not the most talented. If you come down the list on that team, she was probably 4th or 5th as far as talent was concerned, maybe 5th on that team. But when Susan knew what needed to be done, she knew where the ball needed to go. She knew what offense we needed to be running. She knew what we needed to do on defense. And you take probably the biggest game one of the biggest games I've ever been in was 1984, and you were probably there. We played 11 in the semifinals of the region.
Yep.
You couldn't get another person in that gym. 5 o'clock game, and there was that gym seats 2,800. There was probably 3,500 people in that gym.
I believe I was there.
And
called the game and believe it.
We tipped it in. Jill Mitchell.
Who was Lebanon had who? Deanna Maynard?
Oh, yeah. And the Moore kid that went to Tennessee, Crystal Moore.
Yeah.
But Patsy shot the ball, which should have been shooting the ball. She was MVP of the Mid-State, hit the front of the rim, and Jill Mitchell, which ended up signing with Georgia, came through the lane and tipped it up. And then you didn't see girls tip the ball. Didn't come down with it. If she'd come down with it, wouldn't have won the game. Tipped it over Crystal Moore, and it went in, and we beat them. They were number 1 in the state. And it was just that was the game that kind of just set everything in motion. And
well, you from a coaching standpoint, you beat a legend in Campbell Brandon that night, who was a good friend of yours and
close friend.
And but
family was close. Bud comes to all of our games now.
Oh yeah, I see him there. And during all that time, Deb, you're raising 3 boys
at that time,
and also you're mom to these. You're a surrogate mom to these girls too.
Right.
What was that like?
Well, I call them, and we both do, our daughters of basketball.
Yeah.
Still do here, but at that time there were a lot of children that the most love they felt or attention they got came from school. Yeah. And came from basketball, and we tried to nurture that family environment with them. Our boys were gym rats. They were at the gym. I worked a full-time job. By then I was with the school system, the secretary of the board and the superintendent of schools. And they rode the bus from school to their daddy at the gym and came home with him.
Yeah.
So I was very involved in their upbringing. They might not remember everything I did, but I think it's because they focus on having the good times that they had at the gym more, But
I think our boys, and Deb will say this too, when I went to get in my vehicle, I don't know that I ever left my house by myself. Because all 3 would jump in. Then you didn't worry about seat belts and car seats and all that kind of. They just jump in. Yeah. And and the reason they did was because they knew something was going to happen. Mm-hmm. They didn't know what was going to happen, but they knew being with me that there was going to be something going on in town, and they didn't want to miss it.
Yeah. Well, the first time Rick was offered the job in 1986 here, we just won a state championship, just built our home. At that time in 1986, we had a 9-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 4-year-old. Yeah. And for the first time, he asked me my opinion about it. And I said, well, if we had 3 girls, I would say I could raise them, but 3 boys need their daddy every day.
Yeah.
And if you take this job, I feel like we'll be trading money for a daddy.
Yeah.
And that's why we stayed in Shelbyville so long, and I've never regretted that because we've raised 3
No.
good boys.
I never have either. And, you know, Coach Earl offered me the job at the old Holiday Inn over on the interstate. They had a restaurant in it, and that's where I met with him. And he basically said, hey, I want you to be our women's basketball coach. And I said, let me think about it. And Deb and myself talked, and we came up with that. I said I needed to be with the guys. I really wanted to be on the collegiate level then, but I just felt like that my sons needed me, and she did too, worse than the basketball needed me.
You know, and you think about the time in Shelbyville, 10 state championships, you know, some, you know, All-American players, all that kind of stuff, and you know, I see young coaches who try to go out there and pencil whip you to show you how smart they are and what a good coach they are. But when you think about what was your secret sauce, and because I think about how you had success, I think about a guy like Gary Rankin who had success. Y'all don't do a lot of complicated things.
No.
You play the game.
No.
Gary in football plays it very simple. They don't have a huge playbook. You guys don't do a whole lot of stuff. It's just doing. It's the people and doing things well.
Yeah, it's executing what you do, and that's kind of what we did, Chip. You're correct, 100% correct. Just we'd win a state championship, but then we'd forget about it. I mean, we'd enjoy it and celebrate it, but then we'd say, hey, now let's start on the next one, you know. And, you know, I was very fortunate that in Shelbyville that I had 2 feeder schools, Harris Middle and Liberty at that time. And both coaches, Tim Fleming and Mark Potts, would sit on my bench. They did everything in junior high that we did on the high school level. Well, now let's take it a step further. You go down, I had about 10 or 12 guys, and females and males, that worked junior pro and in our county. And they would run everything that I did on the high school level. And they would all come to the games. And during the summer, Deb will tell you that I would take those in AAU. I would take all the AAU coaches when we went to San Antonio, or we went to, I don't know where all the places we went, Santa Barbara, Phoenix, and I just come down, Miami, New York. I didn't just load up Deb and me. I loaded up everybody.
That never changed.
Never. I loaded up all of our coaches. Yeah. And I know Buddy Overcast would get hacked off. He said, I don't know that we can afford all this. I said, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Yeah. And Buddy and Billy were so great in making sure that everything was taken care of. But we would take those coaches and their families with us, and it kind of be their little some of them that'd be on the only vacation they would get.
Yeah.
One of my favorite quotes from Rick is, if all I've ever taught them is X's and O's, then I failed. Those 10 state championships were important to me. Those 5 runner-ups, 15 years in the state finals, 775 wins. But the most important thing to me was 66 kids that got an opportunity to get a college education and see things that many of them would never see again.
Yeah. Well, you talked about it was a hard decision, but the correct decision in 1996 to stay where you were. Well,
86
rather, to come to Middle when Coach Earl talked to you. Well, the opportunity, of course, came back again. Boys are grown. Probably an easy answer at that point.
Well, not really. I've told this story a lot at the breakfast table. I was, the boys would say, well, what are you going to do? You're going to apply for the middle job? Stephanie Smith's going to Alabama, this and that. And I said, nah. I'd applied at Vanderbilt, and I went through the process and got it got to be between Jim Foster and myself, and they made a good decision with Jim Foster. I talked to him at Duke, and Tom Butters was the AD there, and he called me back, and he said, look, I'm going to let you know something. Your resume is unbelievable. But we ain't got any female coaches at Duke. So we got to hire a female. And they ended up hiring Gail Gestenkauer, which was the third assistant at Indiana at that time, I think. Well, then the Florida job came open, and then Nike wanted me to get involved at that time with the Florida job, and I talked to them, but nothing ever really came. I didn't know if I wanted to do that or not, and so it kind of just flushed it, to be honest with you. And then when the middle job came up one other time, and I won't get into all that, but I thought I was lied to. And I won't get into all that. And so I was kind of sour. Dr. McPhee was not here then, and it was not Dr. Walker, but I was lied to. So, I just kind of was soured on it. And I'd come to the middle games, the football games. I'd come to the men's basketball, and I'd come to a few of the women's games. But I saw the attendance was just not where it needed to be. And so that morning, Kyle, my middle son, which is basically the one that'll just tell you how the cow ate the cabbage every time
He's
you
a
talk
lot
to
like
him.
his daddy.
He said, you've kind of been lying to Tom and Matt and me, our whole lives. I said, what are you talking about? You've always wanted to be a college coach. You got a chance now to go to your alma mater. There's no doubt you can get this job, and your chicken, put the other word with it, out on it. So I looked at Deb, and that morning I think she went and made application, and I kind of started the process, didn't honey? And it was because of Kyle. I said, okay, Kyle, if that's what you want, then,
And like everything else, that application process was a family event.
Yeah, it was.
We all worked on that.
Every one of my sons played a major role in me getting this job at Middle Tennessee. Now, Dr. McPhee and Chris made the decision.
He had to do the final sale.
But and I had to take it into them. But before I got there, every one of them played a major role in preparing me for the interview.
Yeah. All right, we need to take a break, and Rick Insell, Deb Insell here with us today on the Roundtable. Rick to receive the Pat Summit Lifetime Achievement Award this weekend with the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame. Back after this on WGNS.
When it comes to your child's health,
You want care that's close, convenient,
and centered around the needs of your family.
At MMC Pediatrics, we're more than just doctors.
We're partners in your parenting journey.
here for every growth spurt,
For every boo-boo.
every fever, and every flu.
Our team approach means that your child always sees someone that knows them.
We are MMC Pediatrics.
We are right beside you.
Every step of the way.
Insurance should be simple, not complicated. That's why at Rayburn Insurance, Agent Rick Hull cuts through the jargon and helps you understand your options clearly. He's committed to finding the right coverage that fits your unique needs and budget. Their team has been a trusted partner in the community since 1973. Ready to make insurance easy? Get with Rick Hall at Rayburn Insurance Agency. He's ready to help you get the protection you deserve.
The people are coming. They come in airplanes and moving vans. Every day, we welcome 500 new residents to Tennessee.
Ready?
We cannot let them price us out. It's a challenge our next governor has to solve. I'm John Rose. I'm the 8th generation on our family farm. My boys will be the 9th generation. We need a Tennessee where all our kids and grandkids can afford to make their own future. I'm running for governor to keep Tennessee affordable, to keep China from buying up our farmland, and keep our school curriculum under our control. I'll work to control property taxes for longtime residents and defend our culture. If you want to keep Tennessee, Tennessee, I need your support for governor. I'm John Rose, and I am applying to do the job.
For Governor, John Rose. Keep Tennessee, Tennessee. Paid for by Rose for Tennessee. Jeff Aiken, Treasurer.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at wgnsradio.com.
Welcome back into the Roundtable on WGNS, and Rick Insell and Deb Insell here. We've talked a lot about family life and the high school life and getting the job at middle. Well, it almost didn't happen. They had to call a timeout because of something, the way the job description was written. But anyway, it all worked out, and you got things going. You inherited a pretty good team and took advantage of that.
Well, really, Chip, we didn't have but 4 players when I got here. One of them was Chrissy Givens,
that was
Crystal
a pretty
Horton,
good start.
Tia Stovall.
Pretty good start. Yeah.
Crystal.
God, no, I said Crystal.
Yeah, Crystal Horton.
Crystal Horton, Chrissy Gibbons. Anyway, there was another kid.
Was Star?
No, Star was. I had a kid that was ineligible for academics when Stephanie left, and it wasn't her fault. There was no guidance when she left, and so the kids, some of them were going to class, wasn't. So I had one that was academically ineligible to December, and she was a stud. Yeah. And then the other one was LaToya Barkley. And so that's all I had. And then I had 3 kids that they had recruited that I didn't know anything about. Brittany Pittman from Kentucky, and John Abney from Kentucky. Yeah, and then the kid from Chattanooga. I can't remember, but though they were all right. So that gave me 7. And then I had a couple of walk-ons that I knew that I had one in high school was Whitney Tate, and another one was a kid that played at Austin Peay, left there, came here and walked on. And then Monique Martin. Somebody told me about Monique Martin, and Monique Martin was probably one of the most talented kids that ever played at Middle Tennessee State. But she couldn't play no defense, but God, offensively she was unreal. As Andy Lander said, she's the greatest 2-guard ever born. And I thought when he told me that, because he recruited her at Georgia, I thought when he told me that, I said, God, you know, you can't be saying that about somebody. He was right. Yeah. She was unbelievable offensively, but now she couldn't guard Evie.
Yeah.
My little granddaughter right now, 4 years old, but she could score.
Yeah.
But you're right. They ended up winning the conference championship.
Yeah.
And it was Chrissy Gibbons. God, what a leader. And you had Crystal Horton there, and what a leader. You had 2 great leaders right there that just were not going to allow
not going to be denied.
The basketball team to fail. And, they'd already won two games 2 years in a row in the NCAA tournament the 2 previous years before I got here. Mm-hmm. So they knew what success was all about.
Yeah. Now, Deb, you helped marshal the forces because you all had built up such a loyal following in Shelbyville. Then you came here, and they wore out 231 for the next 20 years.
I kept my business in Shelbyville,
You
so
did.
I have a foot firmly planted in 2 counties, in Bedford County and in Rutherford County. And I guess I was a connection to still have Rick in Shelbyville, and the people that followed and loved girls basketball from around the mid-state. It was harder in Rutherford County because we had won so many games against Rutherford County high school teams. It was almost like we've met the enemy and he is us. Even with the players on the team that played in the mid-state, they had to get over that feeling of animosity that they had from him conquering them in high school. So, yes, I've always had schedules there. I've been the conduit for tickets from carrying them to Bedford County for people to come by my office and buy them and pick them up. And it's just It's home too.
Well, and through all these years too, when we do our summer tour, that's always one of the biggest stops that we have.
Exactly.
Is in Bedford County.
They just love women's basketball.
Yep.
They really do, and I tell you what, Chip, and this is something we're working on. We're going to try to, we're so invested in our fan base, and our fan base is invested in our girls' basketball team, our women's basketball team. As you well know, you can go out here this afternoon, there'll be 50 to 60 sitting out there in practice. And that's one of the things that I think Chris and myself are going to try to work on with some of our other sports.
Yeah.
That's one of the things we learned from Pat, too.
And right. And so, God, we got a special community here in Murfreesboro. And Middle Tennessee is special. Not that they give us a paycheck. Let's forget that. Look at all the young men and young women that they educate, and what our faculty is unbelievable. Our administration is unbelievable.
We are family.
And I don't hate to say this. You might hate me for saying this, but, I'll be honest with you, and I don't say this to butter you up because I don't have to, but your voice, as far as the Blue Raiders are concerned, you're the voice of Blue Raiders. Just like John Ward was the voice of the Big Orange in Tennessee, you are our voice. And I don't know many people out there that's got that. I mean, Vanderbilt hadn't got that. Georgia just got, Larry Munson's not there anymore. And a lot of people knew Larry Munson around the country.
Even from here.
From here. But now, I couldn't tell you who is
who
calling.
Does the radio, Georgia? Yeah.
But people know that Chip Walters does the Blue Raiders. And that's just part of what we've got here in this community. And we got so many people moving into this community every single month that I just think we're right on the verge of really blowing this thing up. And when I say that, filling the football stadium up, filling up, we're about to spend over $100 million on Murphy Center. It's going to be a happening just to come here, just like it is when you go to Bridgestone Arena.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting. When folks see the drawings of what's going to happen in the football stadium, what's going to be happening in Murphy Center over the next couple of years, it's going to be something special. And you're very kind to say what you said. And I'm not fast forwarding through, but, the things that you have done year by year by year here have been documented so well. But what was this last year like? Because you had to fight a lot of things. I mean, if I remember correctly, Deb and I were talking over at the Boulevard one day. You had a cancer diagnosis, and Autumn,
the very same day,
Matt's wife, Autumn, was diagnosed the very same day. And that was a gut punch.
God, it was. And, we had a young team, and I loved them. I mean, they were very talented, but the schedule that we play year in and year out is so tough that I knew that it was going to kind of eat them up a little bit. And my coaching staff knew that too. Mm-hmm. And then to see that taking place on the floor at times, like the Tennessee game, that's the only time Tennessee's ever dominated us. And by the end of the year, they wouldn't have dominated us this year. Mm-hmm. But early on, they did. And then what I really was not concerned as much about what was going on with me as I was about Autumn. She's my daughter-in-law. She's Matt's wife. My two little grandbabies. It was just every night that we laid down, Deb and me, it was just, we were exhausted.
It was almost more than your heart and emotions.
Well,
that's what I say. That, and obviously that played a role in you deciding, okay, this, for the last 2 or 3 years, when the end of the season would come up, is this the year he's going to say it or whatever? But, you could kind of feel it coming on with, that was a lot. That was a lot going on.
And then Chris put, and don't get me wrong, this was not a negative, but the 500, that ended up, I thought there was a lot of pressure on our players. It wasn't pressure on me. I didn't even think about it, to be honest with you. Someone would mention, hey, you've got 493, you got 497, but that 500 weighed on our players, and I think you saw that night that they pulled that 500 thing down. It was
they were ready to see that come down.
They were ready they were ready, and they were in the dressing room. They were pretty emotional. Our fan base got involved in it too. They were pretty emotional. It was a trying time through that. And
how you feeling now?
We still have some challenges.
Well, he's had 2 rare cancers.
He
still has one.
Vanderbilt is really. Dr. Gibson is my doctor, and God, he's just a fantastic individual. He kind of keeps me grounded. But it's, I can see, we can see where a lot of families, because we go through it every day now, every day.
They don't survive health challenges.
It's heartbreaking to see some of the things that goes on that we have to observe when we go to Vanderbilt. We got to go usually 2 or 3 times a month.
Right.
And it just breaks our heart to have, when we're sitting in those rooms and we see all the things that's taking place.
But it makes me so grateful that we have what we do.
Right.
Yeah.
Because there are people worse.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And Autumn's doctors have.
Autumn's looking great now.
Autumn is doing well.
Told her she was in her Peter Pan era with her,
right.
where her hair is now and all that,
yeah.
Which is good.
Still has some immunotherapy to do and the completion of reconstruction.
Yeah.
But that's an 18-month process.
We'd look at you got a good friend, Jim Tracy's going through a bunch now. Johnny Taylor we lost last year that went because of cancer. My grandkids' other granddaddy is right in the middle of cancer.
That was diagnosed 2 months after we were with
Scott Johnson at the celebration.
Scott,
He's going through it now, and I mean we got so many people that we know is just struggling, and we're very thankful we're still here, and we can still come in and we can still be Blue Raiders.
Yeah. Well, we've done a lot of looking back today, and something that hit me last week. The university put out something on Facebook or whatever. It had the list of retirees.
Yes.
And your name was on there. I thought, wow.
I know.
It's really real.
It's almost like an obituary.
Yeah, it was on there, but
in your face.
But you have a role now moving forward. And so, what do you see yourself doing in the next however long you want to do it?
I think we talked a little bit about it. I think we're going to try to we need to get our community more invested in our athletic programs.
Right.
And then I'm going to raise some money. I'm going to try to raise some money for our NIL. And I'm on whatever Chris. I'm going to be on some committees that Chris wants me on. Whatever Chris and Dr.
The renovations.
Chris
heavily.
and Dr. McPhee and whatever they want me to do, I'm going to be there to do that. And of course, then you got Steve Smith, which is a trustee, also the chairman of the board of the trustees. That there'll be some things that he'll want me to do. But it'll be all focused on growing MTSU.
University.
Yeah.
Growing this university any way that we can.
Yeah.
I still think we've got so many great things that can, and I think you're going to be a big part of that also, because you've got the voice. You are our voice,
right.
And we all just got to pull together on this and make this thing happen.
Yeah.
There's no reason why we can't have a packed house out here for men's basketball. I've seen it. You've seen it.
Yep.
There's no reason we can't fill that stadium up. We're going to do that one day.
Nick's got a good group. Matt's got a good group coming
Matt's got a good group coming in, and Matt's he's an unbelievable coach, recruiter, X and O guy. He's got it all, and he's going to do well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be fun. And again, and Saturday night's going to be fun again with yourself getting the Pat Summit Lifetime Achievement Award.